From his spines down to his ankle, shockwaves have swept off Jake Paul after he caught a glimpse of what Mike Tyson's training session looked like. Recent videos of Mike Tyson's training and sparring session have once again made many believe that Tyson could pull an upset on him. And with Jake Paul's confusing response, many more have left him to line in support of the former undisputed world heavyweight champion. Let's get straight in. Prior to the much-anticipated bout between popular YouTuber, The Problem Child, Jake Paul against former undisputed heavyweight world champion, the man who's called the Iron Mike Tyson, videos have been endlessly trooping in to build up enough excitement and anticipation among the supporters for the upcoming match on July 20th. While accurate and exact details have not been released about the rules of the match, the paranoid supporters hope for an exhibition match between the fighters who have a 31-year age difference between them. However, the confident and assumed fans, especially those confident in Tyson's abilities, are hoping the match becomes a full-blown professional match. Most recently, what has caught many people's attention has been Jake Paul's reaction to a particular video where the 58-year-old machine can be seen on a new solid punch training, or let's call it speed punching, since his punches were coming after each other in rapid succession. Having chanced upon the videos as well, Jake Paul has been fidgeting in so much panic and fear of the three-time former world heavyweight champion. Taking to Instagram after seeing different videos, Jake Paul shared his reaction in a short video where Jake Paul's expression can be seen to have morphed into bewilderment, with his face resembling a perfect blend of confusion and blankness. The shared clip was one where Tyson was seen training with Rafael Cordeiro. In the video, Tyson threw a four-punch combination as Cordeiro held the mitts. According to Cordeiro, the exercise helped Mike Tyson generate the greatest force and speed in the shortest amount of time. Additionally, referring to Tyson's way of punching, Cordeiro announced that Tyson's was the most violent slap I've ever felt. With the reaction of Jake Paul, one could sense that Jake Paul isn't really ready for the fight. The problem child is really going to be facing a lot of problems in the boxing ring in July. There's been a lot of talk about this fight being a misfit involving two men who are willing to put age aside and give the boxing world a real show. In this regard, KSI called Mike Tyson versus Paul sad. However, the problem child quickly poured out his fear of Tyson on KSI. He then asked if KSI ever looked as good as Tyson, 57, on the mitts. "We know KSI is old, but has he looked this good on mitts?" asked Jake. Regardless of what they both felt, Cordeiro praised Tyson's techniques. As per his understanding, Tyson's techniques exceed several active athletes in the sport. However, the age difference brings up a stern argument in the world of boxing, among fans and professional fighters, especially in their opinions on who the win is most likely tilting to. In an age where all of Jake Paul's wins have been against older men, and the one time he lost, it was against a younger Tommy Fury, the fight against Mike Tyson seems to be in his favor like his previous older opponents. One of the older opponents he got the better off was Nate Diaz, a 38-year-old. Jake Paul beat Nate Diaz by unanimous decision at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. Diaz, the MMA star who was making his pro boxing debut, was the clear favorite of the announced sellout crowd. But the cheers had little impact on the outcome in the 10-round showdown between the 26-year-old Paul and 38-year-old Diaz. The judges scored at 97, 92, 98, 91, and 98, 91. Paul, who knocked Diaz down in the fifth round, said he was sure he'd won the fight on the judges' cards and thought Diaz won only one round. Although he's a warrior, you know. "I had him hurt in the first round. He kept on coming and no one's taken that much damage," Paul said. Paul proved to be not only younger but stronger and a more skilled boxer. "He's real tough," Paul said of Diaz. "That's what he's known for, but tough in this sport doesn't work." With the victory, Paul improved to 7, one while bouncing back from his first defeat, a loss to Tommy Fury by split decision in February. Paul also extended his string of victories over MMA fighters. Previously, he beat Ben Askren with a first-round knockout, beat Tyron Woodley by decision and by sixth-round knockout, and beat Anderson Silva by unanimous decision. Diaz now is expected to return to the UFC, potentially for a trilogy fight against Conor McGregor. It's tough. I wish I could have done better and did better things, but it's all good, Diaz said. However, Paul, not being weary of fighting older men, suggested a rematch with Diaz. "Let's run it back in MMA," Paul said during an in-ring interview. "Make it fair. I won one. Now it's your chance in your home territory. MMA, let's do it." Minutes later, Diaz was asked if he wanted to do more boxing or MMA. Diaz, who looked so passionate for revenge, accepted the challenge without hesitation. "I'll do either MMA or boxing," he said. "MMA sounds good. Paul won one and I need to get one back, so I'm down with that." Paul said the $10 million would come from the Professional Fighters League, but offered no details about how the payout would work. Paul also said he'd be interested in a rematch with Tommy Fury, who beat Paul by split decision and gave the YouTube celebrity his first loss as a pro boxer. Since then, Paul has changed trainers and strength and conditioning coaches. "I'm going to try to get that back," he said of the loss to Fury. "With this new team, I'm a different fighter." Proving Jake Paul's obsessive preference for older boxers, shortly before he fought Diaz, his opponent was a 47-year-old Anderson Silva, and as it then, it was deemed as the toughest match of his career. And in it, Paul scored a late knockdown of Anderson Silva and then won a controversial unanimous decision to remain undefeated at 6-0. It wasn't the decision so much as it was the wide scorecards that drew boos from the 14,430 fans in attendance at Desert Diamond Arena. Silva often landed the harder combinations and put Paul in uncomfortable positions as he applied pressure. Although he was 47, Silva resembled a reigning champion with his showboating, sharp counterpunching, and evasiveness. But Paul's massive right hand found its mark at points and bloodied Silva's nose in the middle rounds. Paul finally landed his devastating punch flush during a wild exchange early in round 8. Silva was sent down on his backside and then made his way to his feet. If Paul hadn't earned his respect before, he certainly did with the knockdown. Silva recovered and went on the hunt. He brushed up Paul with combinations along the ropes. Unfortunately for him, his fate was already sealed as the judges already had Paul up. A very pro-Silva crowd showered the arena with the boss as the scorecards were announced in Paul's favor. Many fans darted for the exits in disgust. Regardless of the controversy that characterized the fight, the 25-year-old Paul showed marked improvement in his technique and never let the moment overwhelm him as his one-time idol became his rival. As Paul hops into the ring once again on the 20th of July, he'd be hoping to take Mike Tyson on the path he led Diaz and Silva to. But in the video doing the rounds on social media, Mike Tyson has come like a firefighter, extinguishing any concern that will arise due to age differences. He sees age not being a barrier to seeing a good fight. He says as long as you bring all your energy to the table, you've got it sorted out. In his words, he dispelled any feat that could come from the age difference and said, "I don't look at life being age. I look at life as energy. And you don't bring your age to the table. You bring your energy to the table. You don't go meet people and say, 'Hey, I'm Bob, I'm 59. You don't do that.
That's it.
Through this comment, one can easily tell that Iron Mike really has a natural view of life, asides his whole boxing energy and enthusiasm. This reflected the fact that there's literally nothing you can do to put down a determined fighter regardless of his age, as long as he's got the energy and determination to deliver. One can't really give excuses about age being the reason one loses or wins. Although this match might be an exhibition match where there aren't too many things at stake except some cool cash, but there's certainly a price at stake when it comes to the ego of two men who want to prove something to the world. Moving on, Mike Tyson assured the fans that it's going to be an entertaining match, however. It's unlikely that Jake is going to let that happen. He said that he's a fighter, and he's going to be competing toe-to-toe with his young opponent, putting all worries about age off the ring. What comes next throws the fans and bookies in a bowl of utter confusion as he said, anything can happen. He puts it like this: "It's going to be entertaining. Because I am a fighter, he's a fighter, and of course, we're going to be in there throwing punches, and during that process, anything can happen."
day one, the fun just begun.
With this statement, one surely admits that King Mike isn't as confident as he used to be. After giving us amazing years of boxing bliss, fighting 58 fights, winning 50, and having a whooping 44 of them as knockouts. Impressively rolling back the years, he won his first 19 professional fights by knockout, and 12 of them in the first round, and holds the record for being the youngest ever boxer to win a heavyweight title. Looking at these records above, one wouldn't be blamed if one thinks that one can put one's whole money on Mike Tyson to win this bout without suffering a cut. But another comment in this interview will cut a huge chord in the hearts of his most passionate fans as he spoke about how psychologically draining it has been trying to get back to full fitness for the fight. He said he's never going to call anyone bad names again for putting in all the work to get to a great shape for any kind of fight. Mike really spoke his heart here, and you can see it in the expressions on his face as he was speaking. He said, "Listen, I'll never call another fighter a bum again. You know, the process of getting in shape to fight somebody is just psychologically overwhelming." This is just a reality call to his fans to admit that the man is really getting old.
I'll never call another fighter a bum again. You know, because the process of getting in shape to fight somebody is just psychologically overwhelming.
He also says he feeds off people's bad comments as he doesn't get angry at that. Rather, he uses it as motivation for the fight. Perhaps that should spur him on to victory. Videos of his trainer getting hit in the face shows you that Mike still got the hit in his hands. Well, on the other side of the bout, Mr. Jake and his friends were having a chit-chat. What transpired was a shock. You know, as the saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed. The same could not be said about the friendship between Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia. Although it's sailing, you just have a feeling the ship will be wrecking soon. During a live chat between Ryan Garcia and Jake Paul, Ryan Garcia says he's really worried for Jake Paul concerning his fight against Mike Tyson. Jake threw Ryan's concerns up in the air as he threw a jibe at Ryan to be more worried for his fight against Devin Haney. Jake asked Ryan if he stands a chance against Mike Tyson, and this is what Ryan Garcia had to say about it. Ryan replied, "Bro, honestly, I don't really doubt you too much because I know you have the mentality as I do, bro. And I know that you've tapped into something that I know what you're tapping into, so it's hard for me to go against you. I just think Mike is a whole different animal, bro. I've met him in person, as you have, bro, and the dude is just built different."
But yeah, bro.
You think Mike will beat me?
Bro, honestly, I don't really doubt you too much because I know you have the mentality as I do, bro, and I know that you've tapped into something that I know what you're tapping into.
Jake would have been expecting Ryan Garcia's comment to have been motivating, but it was not the case. Ryan Garcia just painted this bout as a cage fight between an animal and a normal man. Jake Paul being the man and Mike Tyson being the animal. It is surprising to see that after so many years of retirement, many still believe in Mike Tyson as much as they did 30 years ago. Even Ryan Garcia, who was barely 6 years old at the time of Tyson's retirement, had so much belief in a man he hardly monitored his career. Well, that's one of the things being great does to you. Ryan wasn't the only one concerned about this matchup, but Frank Warren is too. Frank, in an interview, was asked quickly about his thoughts concerning the matchup. He first addressed the fight as a PR stunt to gain more wealth rather than to give the boxing fans a real sporting experience. Frank Warren has fervently expressed his thoughts regarding the bout between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. He expressed his disbelief, asserting that such occurrence should not be taking place. He said, "First of all, I like Jake Paul's. I like him a lot. He's a great promoter and he's done well for a guy that's come from his background. He's not like yourself or like me who has come from the tough side of the streets and came through boxing." Warren praised Jake Paul at first, acknowledging the fact that he did not come through boxing the way he did, and he has done so well for himself already in his short boxing career. He furthermore added that he's done well as a prankster, and the majority of his fights were this YouTuber type of stuff. But a 58-year-old man, do me a favor, it shouldn't be happening. Having said that, some of the stuff that comes on in this day and age, I can't believe how it's coming about. But it does, and these guys earn a lot of money from it. Despite Warren's shock about this matchup, these comments highlight the way the game has now changed as the potential earnings have changed. Don't forget that he put into perspective that the reason Jake Paul is fighting is purely based on increasing his revenue streams on different platforms, not for sporting reasons as you would have expected. The bout is just there for entertainment purposes, and Jake Paul is certainly going to add this fight to the numbers of remarkable contestants he has faced in his short span as a professional boxer. Can Mike Tyson go against the odds against him and put in a top fight when he comes up in the boxing ring again? The man who put the whole world in a stop when he was an undisputed world heavyweight champion cannot be believed to have once coached recently defeated Cameroonian Francis to a split decision loss against the Gypsy King Tyson Fury in his boxing debut. With the way Francis lost to Joshua, fans would have been thrown into an apathy that Mike might have been slacking in his training methods, but he definitely did not slack in his little predictions about how the fight between Olympic champion Anthony Joshua and his former trainee would go. Before that, he expressed how a fight with Joshua was never a walk in the park, and how Joshua's abilities could pose so much threat to any opponent he faced. Well, it did pose a threat to Francis's life, as Anthony Joshua knocked him out completely in the second round. The opinion of a man with such magnificent records should be as esteemed as it can be. Mike Tyson, who gave Joshua some psychological tips for his bouts, might be needing to use his own tips as a way of escape for his bout, too. He said this to Joshua. His mind has to be right. He ain't going in the back of his mind. He has to stay away from himself and his thoughts. He's got to have a reason to fight for. He's got to ask himself, who are you? He's got to stand in the day of adversity and fight for a reason. Mike would be needing his own advice this time as he takes on a cunning opponent in Jake Paul who could spring up a surprise any time. The bout is scheduled to take place on July 20th, 2024 at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. 27-year-old Jake Paul would be looking for his 10th boxing win in his 11th match and would hope to defeat the Iron Man from New York City.
30 seconds on this game. Keep me. Non-stop. We hungry for this shit.
There's certainly a lot of questions to still ask concerning this match. There's still a long time to get more snippets of what to expect, but we will wait patiently to whet our appetite as soon as they come out. There's so much to hope for, so much to wish for, and so much to resize. Mike Tyson makes his famous return to the boxing ring. This time, not after his stint in the prison, but after a 19-year stint in retirement.
What a shot! Beautiful. Beautiful.
It remains to be seen how he responds. To many, the man who could come out of a 3-year jail sentence to become the world heavyweight champion still has it in his bags. But July 20th has all the answers. Ensure you hit the like and subscribe button, and most importantly, turn on notifications to get updates when we drop the latest news, moments, actions, and events in the world of boxing. Until next time, peace out.